Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 369. I am Brendan. UFC 298, Topuria versus Volkanovski. We're going to break that down right here. We're going to go over the main card, talk about all the fights, go round by round, talk about some wacko scoring and some of them. And then we'll talk about, the overall implications of what's going on here. So before we get into this stuff, subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of thing. That way you know the next video is coming out. I'd super appreciate it. It helps the channel out too. Let's go. Okay. Let's talk about the main event first, as usual. So, Volkanovski looking to defend his title for, it wouldn't be a record. This would have been the 7th consecutive title defense. Max Holloway did it 5 times, and Jose Aldo, I think, did it 7 or 8? Maybe 8. I don't remember now. But anyway, maybe it was 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 7. That's the way it was. Anyway. Volkanovski just didn't get it done. I think there's some interesting takeaways from this. I think that I know Volkanovski is playing off the being old thing, but I think that does play a factor here. I think Topuria is very good. I think his fundamentals are very solid, and I think the fact that he is with his pressure and he has power. Right, Max Holloway didn't have the power. He's a volume puncher and he overwhelms you over time, so most people just can't keep up with him. The problem is Topuria, he's like a Piotr Jan type, right? Like really fundamental boxing, good anti-wrestling, good wrestling, I guess, when he needs it. And then he's got power behind his shots, so he can punish you in ways that Max Holloway usually doesn't. And that's, if they fought 5 years ago, do I think Topuria wins? I have no idea. Probably not. But this version of Volkanovski versus this version of Topuria, here's the thing, though. We'll talk. Let's talk about it. First of all, Joe Rogan, I love the dude. I really do. I think he's important for the sport. But he was on one last night. It was bad. It was bad to listen to sometimes. Here's a statement that should set the tone. Obviously, he said it at the end of the night, but the way we're reviewing him is in reverse order. But this should set the tone for the kind of way he was talking all night. He says, "I've never been more hyped for a fight." He said, "I've never been more hyped for a fight." Really? Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, not more hyped for that one? Bullshit. Conor McGregor versus Khabib? Bullshit. Of course you were. He's swept up in the moment, and he's saying things because at the time, it's very exciting. I'm not saying this wasn't an exciting matchup or that it wasn't a good matchup or anything like that. Obviously it was. I'm just saying the hyperbolic nature of the way that he was talking and the way he would jump on the bandwagon so fast. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to commentary, like the UFC commentary. I don't think they have a script that they're supposed to follow. But last night is not good evidence otherwise, or is good evidence otherwise. We'll talk about that. So Volk goes in with the kicks to the head and the low kick to the body early. He's using his kicks to keep the distance. He's hitting him where Topuria couldn't be hit, or Topuria couldn't hit back. Topuria with the pressure just blocked the head kicks and taking the body kicks. 2 low kicks from Topuria and Volk light on that lead leg, spinning him around. It looked a lot worse than it was because he was so light on that lead leg and using that leg to attack. When he kicked it, he was just basically like a top, and it just spun him around. I don't think those low kicks did any more damage than the ones coming back from Volkanovski. Topuria throwing the right hand, landing it partially a couple times. He never really landed it clean in this round. We saw what happened in the second round when he did land it clean. Topuria is just out of range for that right hand most of the time. The numbers go to the champ, and you got to give him this round. 26-15 for the striking numbers. Somebody gave that round to Topuria. There was talk said it was a close round. It was not a close round, guys. Not a close round. I don't know what everybody was smoking, but the way that people were talking, just because a round was competitive does not mean it was close. Okay, there are different, like, we have words, okay? Use your words. Use different words. So if a round is competitive, that means you and I are both fighting back. But, you could be clearly winning the round, and I could be competitive in it. It doesn't mean it's a close round, right? I could have hit you 4 or 5 good times, and then you hit me, 15 good times. And neither one of us got rocked. Neither one of us, got knocked down. Neither one of us had any control time. But you clearly won that round, even though it was competitive. In each moment, right? In the grappling exchanges, it can be competitive. In the clinch, it can be competitive. But just because it's competitive doesn't mean it's close. God, that was not a close round. Very easy to score. Second round, Volk using the jab a bit more, and this is the problem. I think he went to the jab and he started moving in for attacks and not backing out the same way he was in that first round. Topuria landed a nice right hand, gets a couple hooks to the body. Topuria's head movements given Volk some issues, but the volume is still in his favor, so he was still outlanding him. Look at this, he still outlanded him even though he got knocked out 21-20, and then a right hand puts Volk down, and it's all over. It's all over. Incredible fight from Topuria. I think it opens up the division. I'm not excited that Volkanovski lost. I'm not excited that Topuria is the champion. I wouldn't have been super excited if Volkanovski won. I was not hyped for this fight, right? I thought it was a good fight. I thought this matchup was good. I just don't think that the buildup led me to thinking like, oh, this fight's going to be amazing. Like, this fight's the next big thing in the UFC. There was just not a lot of hype behind it. Maybe that's just me. You guys let me know. I didn't feel it. Like, Topuria hasn't, he's run through the division really quick. And, good for him. It's the way Volkanovski did it too. So we'll see what happens. My guess is Volkanovski is going to be offered a rematch. I would almost prefer that he doesn't take it, because usually that would mean he would have to take it within 6 months, because they're not going to wait a year for it to do a rematch. Although Ilia Topuria did not fight. He only fought one time in 2023. I don't know if that was from injuries. I don't remember. But there's a lot of guys in here. Ivloev is going to want to fight. Ortega's fighting next week and trying to get a title shot again. You got Yair Rodriguez, essentially one win away again from fighting for a title. Max Holloway is always in the mix. He can always fight for a title. Anytime he gets a win, he could be in there for a title shot. So Max Holloway has not fought Topuria. I think that's a fun matchup. I'd be interested in seeing it. But Max Holloway's got to take on. He's moving up to 155 to take on freaking Gagey. So we're not going to see that for a little bit. Okay. Overall, not a bad fight, just short. Robert Whittaker taking on Paulo Costa. Okay. All right. I might spend a little bit more time analyzing this one or talking about it, because this friends, shows you. This is complete. This is complete. Let's look at the rankings real quick. Actually, no. I just want to show you. Let's look at Robert Whittaker's record here. Let's look at his record. Clint Hester was a good fighter back then. Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, Rafael Natal, Derek Brunson, Jacare Souza, Yoel Romero. At the time, I think, other than maybe Brad Tavares, all those fighters were ranked in the top 15, probably the top 10, maybe even the top 5, right? So we're talking about top-ranked opponents, people that were, and in Yoel Romero's case, in Jacare's case, and possibly Derek Brunson's case. I don't remember the exact context of that fight, but anyway, those were all title eliminator. Actually, Jacare Souza was a title eliminator, and then Whittaker fought for the title. Anyway, Whittaker beat everyone currently ranked looking for the title. Then he loses to Adesanya when he tries to defend his belt. Fights Darren Till again. Looking for a title contest. That was a weird one, but Jared Cannonier went on to fight for the title. Calvin Gastelum had a crazy hard fight with Adesanya, almost beat him. Then he goes back and fights Adesanya again. Doesn't win. Marvin Vettori, just coming off of a loss to the champion, beats him in emphatic fashion. Loses to Dricus du Plessis. This is the one mark on his record here. And then, again, beating Paulo Costa, completing what I consider the greatest run in middleweight history from a non-champion. I really believe that. Because other than Dricus, everybody else, he cleared out the division. This is a Max Holloway level performance. Or Max Holloway level career. Paulo Costa is on, again, a former title contender, a former title challenger, currently a title contender. Yes, he hasn't fought in a while, and there's some questions about whether or not because he lost, blah, blah, blah. But I thought Paulo Costa looked fantastic in this fight. But I thought Whittaker just had an excellent game plan, went out there, and did exactly what he needed to do. So let's talk about that. For my Whittaker fans out there, this is one of those things where I try to be unbiased, but my bias might slip in here. Okay, I will explain myself. Okay, when I'm scoring these, and I try to be as neutral as possible, but I am a huge Whittaker fan, so it is hard for me to do it. But I'll explain my reasoning. Whether it's faulty or not is up to you guys. Okay, low kicks from Whittaker are there. Costa landing a really nice jab. Whittaker landing the low kicks and blocking the head kicks coming back. I'll talk about it when I get to it. Whittaker countering a nice right hand with a huge left hand. Costa goes wide. Whittaker finds his way in through the middle. So when Costa's going wide with his attacks and he's going with the hooks and he's going out wide, Whittaker goes through the middle. And then when Costa goes through the middle, Whittaker tries to beat him to the outside. It was just this it wasn't even tit for tat. It was excellent counter punching. And then when Whittaker had to lead the dance, he was doing a great job of it. Paulo Costa, I will mention it a few times, tried to not bully him, but bait him in to a brawl, and Whittaker just wasn't not having any of it. Costa lands some body hooks and then takes some time to admire his work and point at Whittaker as Whittaker lands a 1-2. A spinning back kick appears to wobble Whittaker at the end of the round, but he didn't go down. Now, up in here, for those of you guys who gave this round to Costa, I'm okay with it, okay? Especially watching at home, absolutely okay with it. But look at the striking numbers here, 38-27. Who was winning that round before that kick happened? Absolutely Whittaker. Who did more damage? Absolutely Whittaker. If that kick didn't wobble Whittaker, right, we didn't see the clear wobble and look like he was almost out, would you have given that round to Costa? Or would you just think, oh, that was a good kick and then move on? Okay, so now looking at the fact that he was wobbled, what did he do immediately afterwards? Stood his ground, threw punches back, and actually outlanded Costa. Okay, so I gave this round to Whittaker, even though I thought it was close. And the only reason it was close was because of that last kick. And had Whittaker gone down, if Whittaker dropped, Costa wins this round. Absolutely. I have no qualms about giving Costa this round. But the fact that he didn't drop, stood his ground, and started throwing back immediately means, yes, he might have been fighting on instinct or whatever, but as far as damage and appearance of damage, Whittaker did not give the appearance Whittaker did not appear to almost die. Let's put it that way. So I have a 10-9 for Whittaker. If you gave it for Costa, I totally understand. Costa stabbing well with the jab and using that front kick. Costa started this round out really well, but then he stabs him in the thumb with the eye. Stabs him in the eye with the thumb. Costa gets a nice eye poke in there. Unintentional, but still an eye poke. Whittaker finding the mark with the hands. The commentary team score. Oh, yes, this was what it was. So Joe Rogan would not shut up about how impressive Costa's kicks were. I'm not saying they weren't fast. And when he would say, woo, or when the kicks came up fast and he analyzed how fast they were, fine. But the fact that he would say, like, oh, he landed another one, he didn't. They were blocked. Most of them were blocked. I think he landed maybe one partially, but they were blocked. Bisping was too quiet. I was really hoping. I usually like his commentary. He's much better at it than Joe Rogan is now, I think. In my opinion. It's not that I think Rogan's bad. I just think that Bisping does a better job. But anyway, every time that these kicks get blocked, even when they're to the body, it doesn't matter. Just the commentary team. And I don't know what they were told ahead of time or if they just got a bug up their butt about how, Costa, they want an interesting matchup because they want Costa versus Duplessis because, they already saw Whittaker versus Duplessis. Well, guess what? You don't get it. Whittaker keeps finding the mark with the hands. Whittaker's countering with the hard shovel 1-2, so he comes up with that shovel hook and then comes over the top with the 2, or he starts with the 2 and then ends with the shovel. It's beautiful stuff. Costa trying to wave him in, but no dice. Whittaker sticking to his plan. Whittaker outlanding him and doing the damage this round. Could be 19-19, but I have it 20-18. 32-26 for the striking numbers in favor of Whittaker. Costa comes out firing heat in this last round. He's tense and just like throwing him hard. Nothing bad about it. He just knows that he needs this round. The low kick from Whittaker is a great way to break things up in the moment when nothing's going on. He just throws that low kick out there. Costa wanting to brawl and Whittaker not taking the bait. Costa, he's firing more out there this round, even if it's blocked early on. So he was winning this round through the first 2 minutes, but then down to the last minute, Whittaker caught up to him, and then anything that happened after in that last minute, honestly, was who's going to win because it was so damn close. Whittaker landed more shots down the stretch, finding the mark with his blitzes, and that's his fight. Absolutely his fight. 25-14 for striking numbers in that last round. You cannot give this fight to Costa. You cannot. You can't. Second and third round were clearly Whittaker's. It's impossible to give that to Costa. Let's look at the scorecards here. I had it 30-27. But if you gave it 29-28, I totally understand. Now let's look. Ron McCarthy and Elliot Kelly both gave that first round to Costa. I totally understand that. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. But it really could have fucked things up if that last round was close. Mike Bell, who I don't always agree with, he saw it the same way I did. Whether that means that's my bias stepping in there, making me give that round to Whittaker, or maybe Mike Bell and I just saw the same fight. So, overall, the judging there wasn't too bad. I mean, that's fine. That first round could have gone either way. So what does this mean? What does this mean? What does it all mean? Tell me, explain this. Okay, so we got Sean Strickland, who's probably not going to get an immediate title shot rematch. Israel Adesanya said he's waiting, but he might step in and fight. That would be fun. Jared Cannonier hasn't fought Duplessis. So Duplessis got to skip over a lot of these guys, right? Because of his story. And then he ends up fighting Strickland, which wasn't the story. And then whatever. But he didn't have to, let's see who he fought in here. I actually don't remember who he fought. Brunson, Darren Till, and Brad Tavares. Okay, yeah, so he fought nobody. Nobody ranked in the top 15 other than Whittaker. Anyway, so he didn't have to fight any of these other challengers, right? So we've got, obviously, let's just start in the top 10. Jack Hermanson just coming off of a win. Unlikely that he's in the title picture right now. Roman Dolidze somehow moved up after losing a fight. Wait, what? How did Roman Dolidze move up? He got closer to Nasruddin? How is that? Anyway, Nasruddin Imavov coming off that win. Unlikely that he's going anywhere. Brendan Allen has a good argument to be in the top 5 and title contention with 1 win, so he needs 1. So that'd actually be a fun matchup with him and Costa. It'll show you if he's ready for him versus Vittori is also a good challenge. Him versus Cannonier. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that Duplessis taking on Adesanya makes the most sense story-wise. I mean, that's what they were building up to begin with, and then he beats Sean Strickland, which allows that story to happen. But the reason I bring all this up is because Whittaker, who's ranked number 3 now, just beat the number 6 guy, and he's only lost to people who are champion. Robert Whittaker has never lost to a non-champion in the middleweight division. That's ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't for the title, but he did lose to Duplessis outside because he lost to him outside. But anyway, great fight. Fun fight. All right, Geoff Neal versus Ian Garry. Here's one where the commentary team was just, they were on one. Neal using his low kicks at a distance. Garry blocking, kicking the front. Garry kicking the front kick to the legs. What? Oh, using the front. Yeah, okay. So he was kicking with a front kick to the legs and to the body to keep his distance. Neal's making Garry circle and back up hard. Neal catches him with the left and the right and gets into the clinch of the cage. I think the crowd was chanting "cuck" at Garry at one point. That was kind of funny. Garry runs away and Neal catches him with two left hands. Garry landing knees to the body. Garry ran most of the round, and if damage is equal, then that's Neal's round for control and pressure. And that's how I saw it, right? If you think that any two strikes of Garry's put him over Neal in terms of damage, you're crazy. It didn't. Like, the best argument you can make is that he did the same amount of damage as Neal. So then we go to the next category. Who was pressuring forward? Who had the control time? That was Neal. If you don't think that the clinch control time matters, fine. Who was pressuring forward the entire time? Neal was. Garry was running backwards literally the entire fight. He was backing up and circling out hard. And then I got to listen. Oh, man, we'll talk about that. So Gary's able to land the jab and the knee as Neal is pressuring. So I have a 10-9 to Neal in that first round. Gary's able to land the jab and the knee as Neal's pressuring in. Neal eventually gets into the clinch. Neal not able to land sustained offense in the poke and run of Garry is working really well. That was his strategy. He mentioned it afterwards coming in. It worked, right? In the second and the third round, it worked very well. Neal lands a nice 1-2, and then Garry clinches up at, I think that he landed enough this round. So looking at the striking numbers here, there's a bigger gap, right? 23-17. I think Garry did enough damage in this round while running backwards. And at 19-19 going to the third, Neal keeps the pressure on and pushes him to the cage. Rogan will not shut up about Gary's distance management as he runs away. Now, I'm not saying that his footwork is bad. But when you want to show someone a good example of footwork, my guess is you wouldn't show a guy who's circling, doing lateral hops, skipping sideways. That's not the example you would use for good footwork. But that's what we saw, right? We saw him back, circle, right? That's what we saw the entire fight, okay? This was an example of good footwork. It was a great strategy, and Neal wasn't able to stop him. I think Neal should have planted his feet and not moved. He tried it a couple times to get Garry to move forward, and Garry would oblige sometimes. But I think if Neal stood his ground, he would have got a better reaction both from the crowd and from Garry, realizing that, hey, this strategy of run away isn't gonna cut it. You have to engage. He didn't get warned a single time. So this is the problem I have with this, right? If you actively move away from your opponent, that's considered passivity, and you can be warned for that. Now, backing out and re-engaging, moving back to avoid some strikes and re-engaging, backing up because you're being attacked, those are all valid techniques. There's nothing wrong with it. But when you're constantly moving away, I think there should be a passivity warning. If you don't actively throw a strike, if you're not in range to throw a strike for 5 seconds at a time, that's passivity. That's passivity. That's exactly what that is. Because you're not trying to strike. You are actively moving away from the striking area. You are not interested in striking. And I'm not a person who thinks that people need to fight in a phone booth. I don't think you need to stick your foot in that fucking tire and sit there and slang and bang. Like, I love watching that sometimes, but my point is, like, you don't have to do that to have good striking, right? Good striking and good footwork involve a lot more than just planting and throwing. But this was not that. This was clear passivity for a majority of the fight. And when Neal pressured him and got him to the cage, then Garry would engage, or Garry would stop and throw a kick and then continue to move away. The only reason he was in range to throw those kicks is because Neal was moving towards him. if Neal stopped and Garry kept doing what he was doing, we would have, like, I could see a point deduction happen. Obviously, that wouldn't have happened probably because he would stop doing it, because he'd be warned. But that's why I think Neal should have stayed put. Garry's backing up so fast that when Neal tracks him down, he's going too fast to slow down, and they end up in the clinch, right? If I hear one more complaint about, or compliment about Garry's footwork, yeah, Neal not able to land enough volume in this round. It needed to knock him down. He didn't get that. 29-28. He got outstruck in this round, largest margin, 24-11. The commentary is trying to talk everyone into Garry's win, winning 30-27. Don't do that. John Anik is throwing it out there. He they'll mention it. Like, they play both sides. I think the commentary team did a fine job overall. There's little things that piss me off that they do. Like I said, I think Bisping's pretty good because he does not do this. He does not do this very often. John Anik likes to play both sides of the coin, where he'll say, oh, well, it's unfair for us to score it sitting cage side. But then he'll just he'll throw out a statement like, oh, well, we should be going to see likely 30-27 in Garry's favor. So which is it? Were you scoring it, or are you not supposed to? You know what I mean? Like, stop doing that stuff. Looking at the scorecards here. Oh yeah, Garry got booed. And then Joe Rogan goes up there and tells him, like, yeah, soak in the booze. He's like all excited. So clearly that's what they wanted to happen. Ha ha. Holy shit. Look at that scorecard. Felicia O gave all 3 rounds to Ian Garry. Totally fine. I totally understand that first round not going to Neal. I thought it was for Neal, but don't, like, I'm not gonna fight to the death over that one. That's not a robbery if he doesn't get it. Saul D'Amato also scored all 3 rounds from Machado Garry. Totally understandable. But Derek, clearly the GOAT of bad decisions, in my opinion, at this point. He's the GOAT. He sucks so bad, guys. Sucks! Dude, he gave Geoff Neal this fight. I gave Geoff Neal the first round, and I'm in the minority here. And he found it somehow possible to give Geoff Neal the second round, too. This guy is a fucking criminal. This guy's taking money from people. He's taking half of people's pay. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to commentary, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the judging, but it's pretty well known that there's money involved in this stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had to give it a close one to make it a split decision to mess with the Vegas to make sure the Vegas made their odds or something. I don't fucking know. Complete incompetence otherwise. Holy shit, that's bad. That's bad, guys. Derek clearly. No way. One of the worst cards I have ever seen. You cannot give that second round to Neal. Jeez. All right. Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. This one looked like it was going to be a lot closer than it was. Slower start from these guys with both of them at range. Merab throwing spinning kicks. Cejudo swinging hard with his hooks. Both guys land the left hook. Merab staggers back, and then they are right back at it. Merab gets a single leg in the high leg trip. Lifts that leg up, kicks the back leg. Merab lands the right hand. Cejudo goes down for a second and reverses Merab and gets on top. A beautiful move, by the way. So pretty. If you appreciate grappling, this one is a good one. Good one to watch, especially wrestling. Cejudo is so slick, guys. I mean, Olympic gold medalist, absolutely, but he's so good. Cejudo was able to hold Merab down for a while. Cejudo did more damage in this round, but the real difference maker was the control on the ground. So, even if you don't, so Dvalishvili outlanded him every round. I don't think that what he did was so impactful that it's so much more impactful than the 11 shots that he took, right? That 5-shot differential, I think, is more than made up by the big shots from Cejudo. the biggest difference here is the control time. So even if damage was equal, right? Who do we give it to? You give it to Cejudo. So I think that was more than enough to make up for any difference. Second thing here, Merab is using the low kicks, but his punches are coming from too far out. Cejudo fakes a single and then gets around for momentary control. That was really pretty. They trade hooks. Cejudo mixes it up at the single leg attempt. Merab pressure's actually working in this round, and Merab starts landing the left hook, following up. Cejudo is slowing down. That's where you notice it right away in the second round. Merab gets another single leg trip. These were pretty. These guys were so freaking good. Cejudo works back up, and Dvalishvili stays on the back body lock. Tripods out the leg again. Trips. He tripped that leg. He didn't tripod him. It lands a couple shots. They get back up. Cejudo's punches are coming a lot slower than they were in the first round, and because of that, he wasn't moving as well, which left him there to be countered. Cejudo fails on a single leg, gets stuck in the front headlock, landing some hooks to the body from Dvalishvili, who goes for the guillotine. He starts smiling, so he knows that he's winning. 34-9 for his striking numbers, and that's clearly Dvalishvili's round. 19-19 going to the third. Cejudo finds a second wind early, pressuring forward with some hooks, but Dvalishvili gets a single leg attempt again, turns it into some strikes and pressure. Cejudo's grabbing the fence so many times, but hasn't been warned. He was warned one time in the first round or second round, I think. Merab's mixing, his pressure is giving Cejudo fits, and then mixing in the takedown attempts so well. Merab lifts Cejudo up, carries him across the cage, throws him down in front of Mark Zuckerberg, which is funny and interesting. Cejudo with the fence grab again. Cejudo just didn't have the gas. Merab should be fighting for the title. It's enough. He should be fighting for the title. His best friend isn't the champion anymore in Sterling. There's no reason he shouldn't fight for the title next. That's it. He should be fighting for the title. Should have been fighting for the title already. No conversation needed. There's no argument. There's nothing. He's beaten everybody. He's the best fighter in that division. All right, Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. See, Hernandez. Okay, yeah, this is the first fight on the main card, all right? This is the last one we'll go over. Hernandez landing a decent right hand as he darts in. Kopylov trying to catch Hernandez while making big dodging movements. So Hernandez was constantly dipping his head. Then Kopylov was trying to catch him when he was doing that. And he did a couple times. Kopylov has some really clean shots, and he landed a nice left hand. But, Hernandez worked hard for that takedown, couldn't get it, but the pressure from him and the strikes from Hernandez did enough in this round. He outstruck him 20-16, out-controlled him, 2 minutes of control time, mostly on the cage, but that's enough. 10-9. Hernandez's pressure is what will win him the fight, making Kopylov have to strike moving backwards. But Kopylov's using that jab and the straight this round to keep him away, landing really good. He's landing some good body kicks in there. This fight looked like Kopylov was just trying to weather the storm and keep Hernandez away, but Hernandez will not stop moving forward. The pressure was on. He started landing some uppercuts. He catches a kick and gets him down momentarily, back down, works to the back, went for the rear naked choke multiple times, getting it tighter. Kopylov fights it off and then gets it yet again and gets the finish while smiling. So Kopylov was doing a better job this round, 19-14, but that's the reason those striking numbers are that way is because Hernandez was working for that takedown, wasn't looking for the strikes as much this round. Overall, if you didn't get UFC 298, some good fights. Some good fights on the card. Nothing on it stands out as so exciting. Some really good fights. If you are more of a hardcore fan, or you lean towards the hardcore side of MMA, hardcore fan side of MMA, I would watch this one. It was really good. Obviously, the main event didn't last very long, but Robert Whittaker fighting the Garry Geoff Neal fight was more of a technical battle, and actually that one was kind of shitty. Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo is fantastic, and Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov was really good. It didn't last that long. So if you're leaning towards the harder core side, I would get it. But if you're more of a casual fan, I don't think this one is worth your money or your time. I think that when it does come around, it circles around to ESPN Plus. If you want to catch some of the fights, or if you want to go find it, then go for it. It's worth watching, that's for sure. Whether it's worth paying for, you know, there's 2 fights on there that you could skip and not miss much. All right. I appreciate you all for stopping by. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of stuff. That way you know that video is coming out. It helps me out. I really appreciate it. If you're looking for the prelims, that'll be in the next video. Hope you guys have an amazing week. Love y'all.